Let's talk about the online piracy legislation moving through Congress. Harry Reid has now postponed a vote on this legislation that was to take place on Tuesday. Explain the legislation to us, Ryan.
Sure, and this is a stunning turn of events. This is a bill that had been pushed mostly by Hollywood and other content creators, aimed at piracy online, not just in the United States, but globally. And its original iteration was quite extreme. It would allow a company to get an injunction that without a hearing the very same day and take a website down. Now, in order to take a website down, it would attack the very infrastructure of the internet. It's called the domain name system, and so the problem arises because the internet is a global is a series of global connections, right? And as soon as you break that, as soon as one user from one country doesn't get the same website that another user from another country gets, you don't have the same internet that we have today. Entrepreneurs who want to then go out and build web companies would be less likely to do so because at a moment's notice, without any warning, they could be taken down.
So you had WikiLeaks shut down on Wednesday. You had Google with a black line through it. What's really at issue here, Sheryl?
Well, I think it's almost new, or it's been cast as new media versus old media, but really it's sort of internet freedom and access versus intellectual property. So I talked to this friend of mine who's a music industry economist yesterday, and he said, look, all this is to try to take down some of these unlicensed and pirated videos and music, etc. He said, if you go online and you type in "see movies now" or "watch free movies now," you can come up with websites that will show you where you can download free movies that are in the theaters right now, which is illegal. They're coming from overseas. He said, all we want is the ability to choke this off at the portal, so that if Google has information that website X is showing these movies, Google is supposed to shut it down. Now, on the other hand, Google is saying, look, the minute you start intervening in our ability to disseminate information, you are on a slippery slope here. And we saw this fight at the debate last night with, interestingly, Newt Gingrich and Rick Santorum kind of on opposite sides of this issue.
Well, it's if you're moving into a media world in which not only can you download a movie that was just released 2 days ago in the theaters, and you can do that, and then you can then plug your laptop into your TV and watch it on your big screen TV, you've really changed the economic marketplace for content producers, for people who make movies and TV shows, and let's face it, books and all kinds of things. That's the nub of the problem. The interesting thing politically was, as this was headed toward an easy passage, a bipartisan passage in Congress, until the internet providers stood up and started to make noise in the last few weeks, and then the White House shifted the climate by saying a week ago, well, we're not so sure anymore. We're not so sure this is the right way to do it. I think everybody will now fall back and try to come up with a more elegant way to get at the problem, as Sheryl described it, which is how do you surgically stop this practice without messing up the infrastructure of the internet?
So what does this demonstration say about the power of old-fashioned lobbying versus the power of internet mobilization?
Sure. These are a set of organizations that hadn't flexed their muscle before. Wikipedia, for instance, going down. I was talking to a chief of staff to one of the backers of the bill before it happened, and he said to me, wait a minute, Wikipedia is going to make the evening news, isn't it? And that's when people start paying attention. When you're when it reaches the broader public. But we all know about that. But the kind of untold story of what happened is that behind the scenes in the White House, you had two elements working against this bill that hasn't been reported much. The State Department is one, and the national security community is the other. The State Department, their overriding ethos is internet freedom. It's a huge issue for Hillary Clinton. She goes to China all the time and preaches to them, do not tell search engines what to do. The national security community, meanwhile, once they started to learn what it meant to break the internet, to break this domain name system, they started realizing that it would create all these ways around what what the regulators were trying to do, which then makes securing the internet that much more difficult. There's this saying created from John Gilmore, who was an internet pioneer. He said, the internet interprets censorship as damage and roots around it. And the national security community actually does believe that. So if you try to block information on the internet, that information will find a new way around it. And that's not something that national security folks want. They want to know where it is. They want a secure internet because then they can, they want stability.
So what's going to happen to this legislation?
I don't know. I mean, yesterday, some of the supporters in the Senate, Orrin Hatch and Senator Grassley and others, were trying to work a way around this, trying to revise it. Now we're seeing Harry Reid summarily pull it from the floor this morning. My friend on the other side, on the side of Hollywood, thought it was dead. He was almost saying, well, we lost that one. But as Jerry suggested, it may come back in some sort of revised form, although, frankly, this is such a difficult thing to do technically. I don't know how you get around these technological problems that this issue poses.
It was just a rapid erosion of support for the legislation in the last 48 hours. I mean, really stunningly. And in one day, I don't remember, we had the count in our story, but it was more than a dozen people in the House and several senators all turned on a dime and came out against it. So Harry Reid couldn't get it through.
Jerry Seib of the Wall Street Journal, and you're listening to the Diane Rehm Show.